Hey y'all, it's Ryan. The last few weekends here have been really lovely with bright, beautiful skies and really nice temperatures. For us, that means a ton of time outside. Our favorite activity is blowing bubbles, so that has inspired today's drawing. So grab your drawing tools and let's get to it.
So the sketch for today's illustration is going to be a little different than ones that we've done in the past, just because really all I'm sketching out is the shape of my bubble and then the reflection that's going to be in it. So it's not too in detail or too in depth for our sketch today. So in my layers, I'm going to tap the plus sign to create a new layer. I do have my 6B pencil set to black. And I am just going to start by drawing a circle in the center of my page, hold so it snaps to, and then I'm going to put my finger down on my screen so that it forms a circle. Going to line this up in the middle for now. Okay. So the reflection that I want to have is going to be of a little boy blowing bubbles off to the side over here. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. And this is going to be a very simple sketch, very similar to the people that I sketch when I'm doing a quick sketch note. So it's not going to be too crazy in depth or have a whole lot of detail to it. So first, I'm gonna start with his body because it is going to go kind of outside of the bubble. And again, this is just a very simple kind of bean shape for the body. And then for his head, I'm going to draw just a circle. Hold so it snaps to, and then press down to get the perfect circle. Okay. Now off to the side, I'm gonna have his hair kind of swoosh up. So I'm gonna come from the middle, draw a curved line up and out, and then follow that up above his head and kind of follow that line. Now I'm going to come down this way with his hair and do the same thing going kind of down the back. And then his ear will be right here because he'll be looking up. I'm gonna make his eyes close, so I'm just gonna draw two little arches to show that they're closed. And then his circular mouth blowing a bubble. I'm also gonna add his square glasses because I just think they are very cute and just make him look like my little one. Okay, and then draw the arms of his frames going back. Okay. I'm gonna do from the kind of top left of the body, I'm going to draw a curved line out for his arm. And then two ovals, one for the thumb and then one larger for his hand. He's going to be holding on to the bubble stick. I'm gonna have a bubble coming out of it. Another bubble in front. And then my last one over off to the side, but I'm gonna make that one a perfect circle. And then I'm gonna put his second arm right here. And then do the same for his hands. Two ovals, one larger than the other. And there is our extremely simple sketch for today's illustration that we're going to work on. So now we're gonna go in and start creating the bubble and all of the reflection in it and adding color. So to begin adding color, I'm gonna come into my layers. I'm gonna click the plus sign. I'm going to change my blend mode on my sketch to multiply and then drop the opacity of that sketch down so that it's just there so I can just see it. I'm going to drag my color layer underneath so that I can see my lines as I'm working. So now I'm going to change my background color. I'm going to choose this really light blue because I am going to work mainly in white for my bubble, and so I want to be able to clearly see it. So in my color palette, change to bright white and then change to monoline. Now I do have the opacity at 100 and the pen size is set to 60. So I'm going to draw that circle, hold so it snaps to, and then put my finger on my screen. And then move that over. Okay. Going to drag to fill with white. Oops, too much. There we go. Now, in order to have a clean outline, but have the reflection or a shadow kind of going in on the bubble, I'm going to duplicate this layer, swipe to the left and duplicate. On this second layer, I'm going to tap and hold on my background color, click select, and color fill. So now I have this layer filled with that background color. We're gonna turn this off at the end. I'm gonna come up to my white layer, go over to my select tool, turn off color fill. I'm going to select the background. I'm going to click feather. And now you can see this is where it's going to fade into or feather into. I'm gonna set that up to, let's go with 30 this time. Now I'm going to click invert. My last step is to come up into my actions. On the add menu, click cut. So now you see I have a really clean line around my bubble and it's fading in. Now to make that darker, I'm going to duplicate and then I can lower the opacity of the top one just a hair, but it does give me a nice cleaner. So if I turn off my sketch layer, it gives me a nice clean line for where my bubble's going to be. Okay, going to pinch to merge those two together. And now I'm going to start making the color reflection within my bubble. So click to add a new layer. I'm going to start in the purple. I'm going to take it a little brighter. I'm going to change my brush to the soft brush. I'm going to change the opacity to about 70 and the size is going to go to 6. So I'm going to put this layer behind my white layer. So that way I'm still going to see it, but I'm going to have the fade of the white or the bubble on top of it. Okay, so I am just going to lightly come in and add kind of that light reflection that you see on bubbles. I'm going to do purple first. I'm going to change it up to a really light yellow. And then lastly, light blue. Let me make that a little lighter. Go. Okay, now I'm going to come into my actions or my adjustments and click blur. I'm going to set that blur to 5. I'm going to come into my smudge tool, take it back to the soft brush, and I am just going to kind of work those colors together so there's not a hard line between two colors like right here. So they're just a little bit more blended. I'm actually going to come in a little bit more blue. And some yellow. Come back into my adjustments. Add the blur. And smudge a little bit. All right, so there is kind of the basic idea behind the bubble. The only thing I'm going to add to finish this bubble off is going to be the brighter reflections of light. So I'm going to add a new layer on top, come into my color palette and select white. I'm going to change my brush back to Monoline. Off to one side, I'm going to make kind of a teardrop shape. Let's take that down to 12. And then fill it. And then add a circle on the end of it. And then over here, I'm going to draw oval that goes with the curve of my bubble. Come into my adjustments, click blur. I'm going to set that to 5. And then I'm going to take the opacity down to about 90. Let's go with 80. So it's still there, you can still see it, it's just not as harsh. All right, the last thing we're going to work on is going to be my little reflection here in the side. Now for that, I am going to add a clipping mask onto this blue layer. So add a new layer, tap the layer and select clipping mask. This will not always be a clipping mask, just in the future, so you know. But it's easier to start by making it a clipping mask and then kind of work backwards from there. So my little one, his favorite color is red. So for his shirt or for his little body, I'm gonna make it a red color. Still have my monoline brush selected. Again, it's starting out as a clipping mask, but it's not going to stay that way. Okay. For his skin tone, I'm gonna come up to, it's in the orange family. It's gonna be really light, kind of fair color. I'm gonna draw a circle for his head. Okay. And then Bill. Also going to add his ear out here to the side and fill. Now I'm going to do his hair on a new clipping mask just to keep it somewhat separate and a little easier to work with. So he has some pretty red hair. I'm actually going to move it over a little bit. Also allows me to edit this if I want. Okay, we're just gonna leave it as is. I'm gonna come back to my original layer here for his body. Draw in his arms. And go back to that tan for his hands. Now for the bubbles, I'm going to come back into blue to make the outline of them a darker blue. And then I'll make the inside of them lighter. Just so you can tell there's a difference between them. Then in my color wheel, I'm just gonna slide it over a little bit to make it lighter. Click continue filling to color drop them in. Okay, now I'm gonna work on his face. So I'm gonna come back to black. Eyes and mouth. And then his glasses are a navy blue. And orange. All right, I'm gonna turn off my sketch just to see how it's looking. Okay. So next I'm going to come into my actions and turn off that drawing guide, because now I'm gonna start adding those bubbles floating around it. And then lastly, I'm gonna come in and erase this little portion that is going to be showing once I make this, I turn off it being a clipping mask. So that's what we're going to do next. So to keep things organized, I am going to merge my clipping mask, the two clipping masks that I had together. I'm also going to merge the layers for my bubble. Now I can swipe to the left on my bubble and click duplicate, select, and I can move it around my screen to start adding in those extra bubbles that are going to be floating around as well. Oops. So you can just keep duplicating and moving bubbles around. Uh-oh, there we go. Going to make a group of bubbles back here. Those are our favorite when we get like 2 or 3 bubbles grouped together. And then I'm actually going to come into this one, erase it. That way you only have the reflection really on the one, It looks more like it's joined to it, so it's a double bubble back there. This one I'm going to rotate and leave both of those back there that you can see. Okay. Down there. Do kind of the same thing here. This one I'm going to erase the one behind it, so the smaller one looks like it is on the top corner. Go. Same there. Okay, and add one more over here to the side. Much smaller, right there. Okay, so in my layers, I'm going to merge all of my bubble layers together. Now I'm going to turn off that blue background. So because I've turned it off, now you'll see through it, which is good because bubbles are see-through. But now I've lost that clipping mask. So I'm going to click on that layer, select clipping mask, but now I need to erase right here so that again, it's just on my bubble. So I'm gonna grab my eraser. I have it set to Monoline. I'm just going to, as carefully as I possibly can, do follow the curve of my bubble to erase. Okay. So all of this. And come back in with my red. Fill in just a little bit. Okay. Now, the last piece that I'm going to do to this layer is I'm going to turn it down, because it's not going to be fully visible because it is a reflection. So it'll just be visible. So on that layer, I clicked the N for the blend mode and I turned my opacity down to 50, just so you can see it. But again, you can see through the bubble and there's his reflection. So now I can swipe to the right on my bubble layer and click group, just to keep it organized. Now I'm gonna work with the clouds in the background, which is why I turned off my blue layer and I made this one see-through, because I want to see the clouds behind it. So I can click on that blue layer, click the plus sign. I'm gonna change my color to white. I'm going to use my select tool. I'm gonna have it move it to freehand and then click color fill. So now I can draw kind of funky, wispy shapes in the background, which is going to be my sky. Okay. Now I'm going to use my smudge tool, still set to soft brush. I have it set to, let's go with 12. And I am just going to smudge, oops, the clouds so that you don't have the harsh line showing where I drew the clouds. And you can see them coming through the bubbles. Okay, I'm also going to come in with a dark blue, use my soft brush. I'm going to have it set at 10, and I'm just going to lightly add in that dark blue into the sky as well. Use my smudge to mix those in. And then lastly, I'm actually going to come in with my eraser set to soft brush. I'm going to turn the opacity down to 50, and I am just going to come in and lightly make those kind of wispy markers between my clouds, just so you can tell that there is a break between them. This is not exact, it's not perfect. It's very loose and just kind of wherever you think looks good to you for the clouds. The last step you could do is you could merge all of your layers together to form one image.
Thank you so much for drawing with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you're notified when new videos are posted. Hope to see you soon.